Welcome to Payoff Pitch Live. I'm your host, Mike Calabrese, and I'm joined by a lineup of power hitters here in the Major League Baseball betting space. Action Network Sean Zerillo, from Scores and Odds, Grant Neiffer, and the Ringers, Anthony Dabbundo. Tonight, we're talking home run derby. We have an eight-batter field, but seemingly an endless array of ways to bet this thing. But before we jump into our outright winners, our best bets, our favorite exotics, let's take a walk down memory lane and kind of wax poetic about home run derbies of yesteryear. As an 80s baby, it was the 93 home run derby for me. It was one of the events that made me fall in love with the sport. Ken Griffey Jr., the backwards hat, the smooth swing, crushing a home run over the wall in right field down there in Baltimore, bounces over Utah Street, hits the B&O warehouse. The first batted ball to hit the warehouse in a regular season, postseason, or home run derby events in the history of Camden Yards. So just a really iconic moment. And you could argue that Griffey's right up there with Jordan as the most iconic athlete of the 90s. So let's go around the horn, share our favorite memories before we get into our best bets. Dabbundo, swing away.
2005, I was 6 years old. Bobby Abreu won the home run derby. That was the highlight for me. And then what year was it that Josh Hamilton had that historic first
2008.
round?
2008.
2008. So those are the two for me that stand out. Bobby, and my mom wrote a note on my bedroom door for when I woke up in the morning that said that Bobby had won the derby, but what she didn't know is that I had found a way to stay up late and watch it anyway.
How about you, Grant? Anything from your 6 year on Earth, or maybe a little bit deeper into your betting career when those balls were flying over the fence of the home run derby?
So I didn't really start watching baseball until like 12 or 13. I can't remember what year it was, but I just know it was the year after the Mariners won or last went to the playoffs 30 years ago, 25 years ago, whatever it was. And I'm a Mariners fan, so that was why it was really sad. And I still love baseball regardless. And I was a big Jason Giambi guy. So it was the 2002 home run derby, him winning it. Like I think I didn't make a bet, but dad had me pick someone like, yeah, if we do this, then I'll give you $40, something like that. And I, of course, picked Gian because he was my favorite player and happened to win it. And it was just beautiful. But outside of that, probably your Bobby Abreu just went ballistic. I still can picture that one in my head out of all the home run derbies I've seen.
Sean, earlier today we did the full pod breaking down the home run derby. We went through a lot of the iconic moments of the last 25 years. There were a ton in the 90s, the steroids era. Is that where you're cherry picking from your favorite derby?
Yeah, 99 at Fenway is just an incredible derby, even to watch back. I mean, McGuire, Sosa in the prime, Griffey ends up winning his second straight. One of my favorite derbies to go back and watch. One of my favorite derby memories, though, and it's one of my favorite players. It always stands out to me. It's something people don't talk about enough. Mike Piazza, back-to-back years, 1993, 1994, entered the Derby twice, failed to hit a home run in either Derby. I, in high school, did a home run derby as a counselor for a baseball camp on a roughly major league size field, 330 to the corners, 385 to the power alleys, 400 to center. I hit a home run out in a home run derby off of a high school level pitcher. Mike Piazza couldn't put one out across 2 years worth of home run derbies at the major league level. So I have more home runs in home run derbies than Mike Piazza does. I'll carry that with me forever.
That's pride of Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, Mike Piazza as well.
All right, let's run through the eight batter field before we get into all your outright winners. As I mentioned, your best bets, your exotics for this event. Byron Buxton from the Twins, he enters with 21 home runs on the season. He is priced at 8-1, which is the fourth lowest odds here in the field. Junior Caminero from Tampa Bay, 23 home runs on the season, notably second in bat speed. We're going to talk a lot about some of the under the hood metrics and how that relates to this event. He's priced at 10-1, seventh here in the field. The Yankees Jazz, is he just happy to be here? Because the pricing seems to be that way. 15-1 last in the field. He enters with 17 home runs. Not notoriously a power hitter, but having a great season this year. O'Neal Cruz for the Pirates, 16 home runs. First in exit velocity, first in a bunch of those bat speed metrics. We'll get into the impacts that he'll have. Maybe not necessarily someone who hits the most towering shots, but certainly those line drives do fly over the fence for him. He's priced at plus 320, which is the second lowest here in the field. Matt Olson Olsen from the Atlanta Braves, 17 home runs, seventh in exit velocity, plus 950. That's the fifth lowest here in the field. The big dumper from the Mariners, 38 home runs, has a chance to crush that switch hitting home run record. Also passed Junior Griffey as the leader in Mariners franchise history for home runs in a season. Notably, though, 16th in bat speed. We'll see if he kind of bucks the trend a little bit there. He is the odds-on favorite at 3-1. Then you got Brent Rooker from the Athletics, 20 home runs on the year. He is priced at 10-1, which is sixth in this field. And then finally, James Wood from the Nats, 24 homers, eighth in exit velocity, plus 370, which is third lowest in this field. So let's talk outright winners. I'll go to you first, Grant.
So I've been researching all day, expecting to find an edge. I read all of Sean's stuff he did, all the analysis, breaking down all these things, and I was pretty much at the exact same place I was at the beginning, which is my favorite is Junior Caminero. You can get him anywhere from 10-1 or 12-1. Honestly, I still like him at 10-1. He seems drastically undervalued, and it all kind of comes down to this. Like we can look at all the advanced stats we want, but Junior Caminero second in swing speed, which is honestly the most important thing, especially when you're trying to hit home runs, especially when you're trying to just have the stamina to keep it the entire tournament. I mean, looking at his swing, it doesn't look like he's one of those guys just going to be over swinging the entire time. His swing doesn't seem to take too much out of him. Just from the looks at it, again, this is not rocket science. This is a tough one to kind of quantify. But just looking at all the swings of everyone, it seems like he's middle of the pack in terms of how much it should deplete his stamina. And looking at the average exit velocity, average home run distance, all these things, barrel rate, he's not going to be going up against guys throwing curves, like he's just getting meatballs down the middle most likely every single time. So it all kind of comes down to bat swing. I mean, you can look at this over in golf, like swing speed is the biggest indicator of how far you're going to hit the ball. There's other variations, but when you're getting meatballs over and over again, swing speed is going to be hugely important. And just him being that high up there while also being near the bottom of the field in terms of odds, it just seems a little off. And it almost every single way you look at it, there's at least, if you weigh bat speed very lowly, there's still some value on it. If you weigh bat speed heavily, then there's a huge amount of value on it. So at 10-1, 12-1, I absolutely love him in this spot.
Sean, your
It's
outright winner here, sorry, just to jump in, is on the move. So I just want to talk real quickly about, the price point. Do you potentially want to keep your money on the side and hop in for a live number? Where do you come down on James Wood, and what's the cutoff where all of a sudden you don't think there's any more value?
I made him just under 20%. I mean, a lot of the metrics that Grant pointed out, I basically incorporated into a model and then ran a Monte Carlo simulation to try to project out this field, at least quantify it somewhat. And I think Cameronero is a fantastically interesting contender, probably the biggest wild card in the field, just because he does have the elite batted ball metrics. He's added more loft to his swing as the season has gone on. Just the barrel efficiency stats are a little bit lower relative to the rest of the field. So depending on what you weight, barrel efficiency versus swing speed, I think Caminero could either exit in the first round and not do that well, or he could end up winning the whole thing. And at the long odds, certainly an interesting investment. And James Wood, as I saw the Derby field getting confirmed, more guys getting put out. O'Neill Cruz got confirmed. I was like, okay, that's my Derby pick. And then James Wood got announced. And I said, actually, I'm going to go ahead and take James Wood because irrespective of odds, I would be betting Wood here. As I said, I made him just under 20%. I think 4-1 or better is fine in terms of a win wager. If you can't get 4-1 or better, I like him to make the finals at plus 225. I'm fine with that down to about plus 190. I make that plus 180. And I also like him to advance out of the first round. I think I make that about minus 160. You could bet that up to around minus 150. So there's a number of ways I would bet James Wood in this contest, but essentially he has the second best batted ball metrics, third best bat speed aside from O'Neill Cruz, and he is intentionally changing his swing path and his approach for this Derby. He's been taking a bunch of simulated Derby rounds over the past week. People have been joking about the fact that his on-field performance has dipped and his strikeouts are up since he started taking these simulated Derby rounds, but basically James Wood just needs to pull the ball in the air tonight, whereas typically he is the guy in this field who likes to put everything to the opposite way. Opposite field likes to hit everything out to left center. he should be hitting everything out to right or right center tonight. So prodigious power, arguably, in my opinion, the best athlete in the field. I know O'Neal Cruz has higher sprint speed. James Wood is just a little bit bigger of a guy, though, about 30 pounds, 40 pounds heavier, and a bit taller. I think they're the same height, but it's like a heavyweight versus a middleweight comparison. I think Wood is just a slightly better athlete and also more capable of probably sustaining that power across the entire contest. So if these mechanical tweaks work, I think James Wood is going to put on a show tonight. 4-1 or better on an outright, but as I said, there's other ways to bet him as well, and we'll be combining him in some exacta props too.
Dabbundo, you also are in favor of putting some money behind Wood pre-tournaments. Is there anything in terms of the market movements that could move you off of that position, or do you think at its current price it's still a play?
I feel like he's the consensus pick of the nerds at this event. The one thing I will say is that Truist Park, seventh in home run park factor for lefties, 16th for righties. So a marginal advantage if you're a lefty trying to pull the ball out of there. But I also think that the fact that Wood is going through all of this and doing the swing change and the simulated rounds, it signals to me at least that he really cares. Right? You never know. Some guys show up, they're like, I'm going to see what happens, give it a go. Some guys are like Pete Alonso, where they're like meditating in the batting cage under the field before they take their swings. So it seems to me that Wood is really caring a lot about winning this. And for someone like him who plays on a bad team, it's an opportunity to put his name on the map. And that's true of Caminero too. And those are the two guys that I like. So I guess we're all in agreement on this show. But Caminero made a swing change around May, and you saw his power numbers go through the roof. He's always had the raw power. You mentioned the bat speed. You mentioned the blast rate, which Caminero and Wood are ranked amongst the best. But when I take a composite ranking of all the metrics that go into the nerd stats, those two guys were in my top four, and Wood was number one for me. So I went with Wood. I also think Caminero is worth a long shot, and we'll talk more on Caminero as we get later into this.
I mean,
Should I also
yeah.
mention the incentivization, just money wise, for I believe Caminero and Wood, right? Couldn't they stand to make more money tonight than they would make over the entire season? Since they're making the major league minimum, they could win
I
$1
think
million
it's
tonight. So there's the money motivation on top of it as well for those guys. I'm not sure if O'Neal Cruz also qualifies on that list, but I'm pretty sure Caminero and James Wood would both make more money in one night than they would for the whole year.
I mean, there's been a lot of
Cruz is
Caminero
that.
talk here, so why don't we just stick with it? Dabbundo, you said that you have a different angle for him. We already talked outright winners. Now it's time to have a little fun, get a little exotic. We're going to talk about a potential exacta box strategy soon. But in terms of players, not necessarily to win, but to get to the semis, you're targeting that Tampa Bay Devil Ray.
Well, I guess the question is like, and I'll pose it to Zerillo and to Grant as well. In one round of home run swinging over the course of 3 minutes, isn't this just an infinitely high variance event for one round? Like, to win 3 rounds different, but like for one round. So shouldn't we be playing, plus 138 on Rooker and plus 142 on Caminero to like make it into the top 4 and say, like, to be honest, it's pretty close to 50-50 and it's hard to make a convincing case. Like I would challenge anybody to confidently come on here and say that this guy has no chance. Like Mookie Betts, maybe you could have made a case for because he doesn't care. But even like Alec Boehm, who was seen as like the kind of the why is this guy here? What is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas meme? Like even he still made it to the second round with ease. So I just think that like we don't really know. And so you should take high upside bets on, plus money bets on guys to make semifinals that have 50-50 chance of doing so.
Grant, you were saying before that you put in all the work, you kind of ended up where you started in terms of the research, and there wasn't necessarily anything popping in terms of that bat speed, launch angle, exit velocity, anything like that. So where did you go for your first bet outside of the outright winner? And talk about how it kind of allows you to hedge, and diversify some of your risk for an event like this.
No, this one isn't diversifying. This is doubling down. I got Junior Caminero. Over on Bet365, and I mean, I still like this over at 15-1 over at like FanDuel. Like odds. One thing I should mention is odds shop with this. The odds shopping is so important on this one, because the effective rake is like 20% if you just look at one site, where if you look across sites, then you can get it at just straight up like 4% rake. There's almost no hold on this competition if you look across best odds. But Junior Caminero, No idea why he is the longest shot to have the longest home runs. I think they just straight up went off of like longest home run of the season to figure out, or average home run distance of the season to figure out how to price these things. And you have Caminero at 20 to 1. That is ridiculous for a guy with the second highest bat speed in the league. He can absolutely hammer the ball. And I know he doesn't get great contact when he's getting just a huge mix of pitches. But again, these are going to be meatballs. 20 to 1 is absolutely ridiculous odds with a guy who realistically should be able to hit the ball the second hardest just based off of bat speed.
Yeah, looking at Buxton, he has the second longest home run of the entire season and the longest in this field. He had a 479-foot bomb last month against the Rangers. He's at plus 420. Does that interest you at all, Sean? Or how do you think about some of these, exotics where you get into the bat speed, the velocity, you get into the miles per hour, you get into the distance. How do you think about those exotic markets?
Yeah, if I was going to bet a longest home run prop, it would be Buxton at around that plus 450. I think he should be second choice at worst, probably closer to plus 350 where Wood is. I would probably flip their odds. I actually prefer if you're going for a player stat prop. I think all of these have moved off of plus money, but I did give out O'Neal Cruz to have the ball with the highest exit velocity, the home run with the highest exit velocity hit tonight. I like that down at even money or better. He's just well clear of the rest of the field in terms of average exit velocity, max exit velocity, like multiple miles per hour and standard deviations away from other players in the field. So as long as the actual O'Neal Cruz shows up tonight, I would assume he does hit the hardest hit ball in the field. I think anything plus money was almost a gift probably to be able to bet that. I think taking minus 110 or better is probably still fine, but I think everything has moved off of juice. But to that point about O'Neal Cruz, and he and James Wood, for me, have the two best StatCast profiles, top to bottom, in the field. And combined, I have them winning this contest about 43% of the time. You add in Matt Olson at another 10% or so, and I make the National League about a 54% favorite over the AL here. And you could bet plus 105 on the NL last night, even though they only have three of the five competitors. I would assume that is why people are probably jumping on the AL, seeing, oh, they have five of the eight competitors. Great. I only have to lay minus 110 in order to bet them. I'm actually happy to take the other side at plus money, going against mostly Cal Raleigh there, in my opinion. And then also Buxton, who I like. We'll get to Buxton and ways to bet Buxton more in a second, aside from that potential longest home run prop. But yeah, my top two contenders here, both in the National League, James Wood and O'Neal Cruz. And the way I'd approach it, I know I already gave out Wood to win. I think you could either take Cruz to win or Wood to win at their respective prices. I show value on both. I make Cruz about plus 305. And then I would bet the NL to win the contest as well. If your preferred guy wins, you win twice. If the other one is there, you at least have some sort of hedge off of your original outright bet. So National League to win at plus 105 down to minus 105. One of my other favorite ways to bet this contest. And you get Matt Olson, the Atlanta Knave, and the guy with the park familiarity in that bet as well, just in case you get some long shot action added onto your ticket. But yeah, NL at minus 105 or better.
You buried the lead here with this Buxton Love Fest. You have two different ways to go about playing him tonight. Obviously, not to play him outright to win it, but get into exactly how you're positioning him. And it seems as though you're also fading Jazz at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think you can actually play Buxton outright. I have a small bet on him at plus 950. I make him closer to plus 650. I have him as the fourth selection in this field, just behind Cal Raleigh. I essentially have them neck and neck. Buxton, for me, has the best combination of barrel consistency or barrel. I mean, batted ball metrics are all like 90th percentile or above, but he's also the second best guy at pulling the ball consistently, aside from Cal Raleigh. So I expect him to just get to his power consistently, probably to have an extremely high floor, one of the higher floors in the field. I think Raleigh has a very high floor because he pulls the ball a lot. Rooker pulls the ball a lot and also has very high sweet spot. He's the highest sweet spot percentage of any player in the field. So Rooker, I think, just gets to his like barrel very consistently and is really good at targeting where he wants to put the ball on the bat. So to Grant's point about betting Rooker outright, to your point, as you brought up, Mike, about potentially fading Jazz, I think there's a bunch of ways you could go about this. I do think Anthony bringing up Rooker to advance into the top four is absolutely a good play as well. But matchup props against Jazz, and they're not widely available. Only one book actually has them. Other books are starting to put them out a little bit as we get closer to the Derby. So keep an eye out for these. I'd make Buxton about a minus 200 favorite head to head against Jazz in the first round. I make Rooker closer to minus 155. You can bet minus 150 currently. But, essentially, I just think Buxton is undervalued given the fact that he has the swing path. He doesn't need to change anything about his swing path, and he has pretty elite batted ball metrics to go along with it. So those are the three guys I like: Cruz, Wood, and Buxton. I'd bet one of them, one of the two favorites, and then Buxton along with them. But Buxton to advance into the top four is plus money. I make that about minus 125. So anything Buxton minus 115 or better to advance, and then is outright down to plus 700.
So we're all anti-Cal Raleigh. Is that what I'm gathering here?
It seems directionally that is the way we're going. Yeah.
Now, you can't separate the player from the odds. Obviously, if he had juicy enough odds, we'd be betting Jazz. If Jazz was 300 to 1 to win this thing, I think we'd all be taking a flyer on it. That being said, Dabbundo, you like Rooker to make the semis at plus 128. Where's the cutoff for you? There's going to be movement even with people listening live. If there's a 10-minute delay between when they punch it into their sports book, it could be on the move. Where's your cutoff there? And do you have anything else that you like about his profile that says to you that he can make a deeper run in this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it is the Deadpool nature, which Zerillo talked about. I think the big question is like, how far do you trust him to go? And for me, this goes back to just not really believing that anybody should be like minus 200, 250. Even James Wood and O'Neal Cruz, who we think should be the favorites to win this thing based on the metrics, like, would anybody be surprised if they flamed out? I mean, just last year, and this is why I think the history is important. Just last year, Gunnar Henderson was a guy that a lot of the nerds liked. The two guys the nerds were all over were Bobby Witt and Gunnar. And I know Zerillo and I think we bet both. And Bobby Witt came within like a few inches of winning the Derby. And Gunnar Henderson flamed out and hit 11 home runs in the first round. Pete Alonso, the home run derby darling, he flamed out in the first round. So ultimately, and this also goes back to Grant's point, we'd spend all this time talking about barrel rate and who hits the ball hardest and all that stuff. And then it comes down to like, if your batting practice pitcher chokes, you will lose, right? Like if your batting practice pitcher puts it in the sweet spot repeatedly and can consistently deliver you meatballs, that's a huge part of this because it's timed. So that's why I'm leaning into the variance. I'm betting all of the plus money players to advance to the semifinals and expecting some chaos here as part of the fun of the Derby.
Let's keep the Rooker positivity going. What do you got here, Grant?
Yeah, I'm going. I mean, I already gave out one winner, but again, there's value on both these guys near the upper end of the odds, and it's Rooker at plus 1,000. I mean, you can get anywhere from 850 to I think I saw it as high as like 1,200 at one point, but I think that's far gone. Rooker is just like he doesn't do anything great. Like you look at all the advanced metrics, nothing just stands out to you but everything is good. Like average bat speed, exit velocity, average home run distance, barrel rate. All these things are good. They're not, none of them are truly elite this year, but all of them are very good. And his swing, people don't always play into this. And I'm huge Alonso fan, obviously. But last year in this format, like the old format, when you get 10 pitches or whatever it was, and they change it to, okay, just 10 outs, and then all these things, it drastically changes how each hitter is going to address everything. And some guys are made for this, some guys aren't. Some guys are going to get exhausted. All these different variables play into it, which are so tough to quantify and so tough to actually know. But just based off of Rooker's swing, I don't think he's going to get too exhausted. I think that his swing kind of fits this format very well because getting those 40 pitches in 3 minutes can be tough and can change a lot of the ways that you swing. So Rooker is kind of the one that matches up best for that because he doesn't seem to be having to try and hammer the ball where a lot of these younger guys like Cruz and Caminero and Wood are all just swinging out of their shoes, which is great for real life production and could be great for this, but it's not entirely known whether that is going to be the case because it's such a small sample size of players in the home run derby in the Statcast era with all these numbers available to us. So Rooker just at these odds seems kind of great for this particular format. Whereas a guy like Matt Olson, his swing doesn't seem to fully translate to this thing. And I mean, main thing we've talked about, like we're all low on Cal in this spot here. The odds just don't match up where they should be. I feel like, and I think we're all in agreement that Jazz is unlikely to win. His odds need to be drastically higher. Just kind of got thrown in there. Like it's Cal, it's Olsen, and Jazz, who I feel like are all not really set up for this format here. And I feel like Rooker, out of all the guys in here with his odds, is kind of set up best for this. Like not to have the longest home run or anything like that, but to potentially get the most consistent amount of home runs each round and not get worn out too much.
We turn now to the last segment here, which is our long shot portion. I know we threw a lot of dirt on Jazz, but we actually have multiple bets on him. Just kidding. He's going to be awful tonight, and I'm going to really enjoy rooting against him and have my betting interest against him. But what is nice is we have a whole bunch of exactas, and I'm going to start with Sean for his segment because he's basically done an exacta box with three separate batters, winning, finishing second, flipping that around, the order. I really enjoy this because when I look at the payouts, these are the kind of payouts that can kind of wash away the sins of your first half of the Major League Baseball betting season if you hit one of these. So walk me through what inspired this and how you're thinking about unit allocation for all of these bets.
Yeah, just the ROI relative to a very similar market, which is naming the finalists. You could just name the two finalists, get your payout. Cruz and Wood, I think, are 12 to 1 to make the finals together. Cruz and Buxton are like 13 to 1 to make the finals together. Apologies if you hear my dogs barking in the background. Uh, Good sign maybe for one of these
An
bets
omen.
cashing, but I would hope so. In lieu, though, of betting those exact name the finalist props, you can just bet the exact result. So instead of betting Wood and Cruz to make the finals together, bet Cruz over Wood at 20 to 1 and Wood over Cruz at 25 to 1. So I'm betting those two. Those are probably my two favorite bets in this market, Wood and Cruz to make the finals together, one of them to ultimately win it. They make the finals together. Congrats, you automatically cash that ticket and the National League ticket as well. But I also mentioned Byron Buxton, and I'm going to mix Buxton in there as well. So Cruz over Wood is 20 to 1. Cruz over Buxton is 25 to 1. Wood over Cruz is 25 to 1. Wood over Buxton, 38 to 1. And then the real juicy ones have Byron Buxton winning. If Wood beats, if Byron Buxton beats O'Neill Cruz in the final, you get 43 to 1. And if Buxton defeats James Wood, 44 to 1. Humongous payouts. I would say the best two value bets among those, probably Wood over Cruz and Buxton over Cruz, respectively. So Cruz getting to the final, but losing as the second choice on the board. And I think if he does get to the final, there's a chance he's had a humongous round and gassed himself out by that point. We actually do have a batting order for the Derby. I found this earlier today. It has not been much publicized. James Wood is going to lead off tonight. They're not going in order of home runs. They're not going in order of total homers on the season. And they're saving Matt Olson for last in front of his home crowd. So Matt Olson, in my opinion, Cal Raleigh, in my opinion, absolute donations to lead the first round in home runs. There's almost conceivably no way those guys would lead the first round in home runs because once they get into the top four, they're just going to stop hitting. So take a look at that batting order for tonight. James Wood is going first. O'Neill Cruz is going third. I think both of those guys are super incentivized to put up huge numbers to ensure that they get to round two. So just take a look at that batting order. I think there may be some value in the round one leader market because I don't think it's reflective of the actual order. I don't think the odds are reflective of the actual order these guys are hitting in tonight.
I give an advantage to the later guys in terms of advancing. Probably, right? They know what they need to do.
I don't
Or does
know
it add
because what
pressure?
access do they have to like batting cages while they're waiting? Are they all sitting there like, the first guy, James Wood, like maybe fresh out of the cage, they do the introductions and then he's at the plate, or the other guy's like on the sideline. Remember, like Pete Alonso is usually like in the back hitting. I think it's kind of up to them as to what they want to do with their time. So it could be an advantage, it could not be, depending upon, what they do with their time, right?
Yeah. A couple other things up. 7 to 9 mile per hour winds blowing out tonight. Does that matter for you, or should we run back my favorite bet and probably the best sweat of the home run derby? DraftKings has an over/under longest home run, 479.5 feet. I usually like to bet the under. I think I'm going to do it again.
Juice
Should I?
baseballs.
They juice the balls for
in a
tonight.
year where we're not
The
again
dead
sure why the
baseball.
baseballs are. And if you've noticed, if you guys have noticed, because I'm sure you have, Grant, as somebody who bets home runs every day, there was a big dip in May. And then
Yep.
June and especially in July, I feel like the ball is flying again. Do you kind of feel that way, Grant?
So it was late May to mid-June Like it wasn't the months weren't fully cut off, but there was
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
like a big drop off, like beginning ish of June. But yes, no, I saw it, and I saw it in my bankroll during that time very badly. Like the changes, and they clearly, and I think it was McCutcheon had that tweet go out, and they talked about how like, oh, the seams are higher, it's not flying as further, like all these things, and there's nothing they can do about it. There's always something they can do about it. They're realistically,
Tonight there'll be something they could do about it. I still like
yeah.
the under. If they hit the longest home run over 480, then I'll tip my cap. But I'll be sweating
I
out
mean,
every
if
ball that
O'Neal
goes over
Cruz
the
wasn't
fence.
in, yeah, if Neil Cruz wasn't in, I'd be a little bit less scared of that. I still think it's the sharper play to go with the under. It almost always is, but Cruz is just he just hammers the ball so hard. His Statcast day is just incredible. But yeah, it's gonna be fun tonight.
Speaking of Cruz, you have an exact outcome in the championship round that involves him at 40-1, Grant.
Yeah, so and then I'll give out two more long shots just because, but this one's kind of more site dependent. So looking at these exacta boxes, you see some wild numbers on here, and this is the most wild one. Uh, Caminero over Cruz is 40-1. Cruz over Caminero is also 40-1, which doesn't really make sense. Cruz going into the finals is automatically going to be the heavy favorite here. So this exacta box with Cruz winning, Caminero getting second is just beautiful. I mean, obviously the favorite. And if you were to parlay together like the Cruz to win and Caminero to go to the finals, you'd get like 20-1. So it's offering a huge amount of value on this one over at Bet365. Even at FanDuel, I still think there's some decent value at 32-1. But then if you want some longer shots, again, the two guys I really like would just sprinkle a little bit of money on this. It's Rooker over Caminero and Caminero over Rooker, both 100-1. Like if you were to parlay together the odds for one of them to win and the other one to just make it to the finals, going to be drastically lower than that. Again, I think both these guys are pretty undervalued, but that Cruz over Caminero is just too good to pass up. The de facto, like from all the people who really know Statcast data, favorite to win just because he just hammers the ball. And then Caminero, the guy that kind of has the underlying bat speed, seems like a huge value spot to most people who look at that metric more. Seems like a great spot at 32-1, 40-1 on that exacta box there.
Dabbundo, while the rest of the nation is rooting for these towering monster home runs, you're going to be booing them as the ball is carrying out to center
Get
field.
down, get down.
Get
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I like that energy for you. I feel like it's on brand. Anything else on brand for you with your long shot here to close out this episode?
Yeah, the two guys I like are Wood and Caminero, so I'm going to play that exact outcome because if it does happen and I don't have a ticket on it, I'll be very upset. So yeah, Wood over Caminero for me. I think the one thing about Junior, he does have the longest swing in this field. I don't know if that matters, but that feels like a thing that could matter. Fatigue, bat, more work to get each swing off. But we're talking about like a few inches here. We're not talking about a massive difference. So ultimately, does it matter? Maybe not. But I think that could be a potential windfall for or issue for Junior. Either way, betting on the upside.
I think Rooker is by far the shortest swing as well, which again just
Yep.
speaks to his likely high floor. I think there's just less that can go wrong with a short swing when he's always making contact, like efficient contact on the barrel. I think Brent Rooker has a very high floor in this contest. So I don't know if he can win, but I do think he is good at plus money to advance to round two. And as I said, those matchup bets against Jazz, if they become more widely available, Rooker minus 150, Buxton minus 135. I think those are both good ways to fade Jazz. If you are on an exchange and want to lay minus 1500 on Jazz not to win the Derby, I think that's actually probably okay as well. I make him plus 3000 to win. So anything up to minus 2500, probably value on Jazz not to win.
Zerillo said, if you find $20 on the ground, you will pick it up. Jazz, no.
That'll do it for the Home Run Derby episode here at Payoff Pitch. Thank you for tuning in and listening. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, give a like, comment on the videos. All that engagement goes a long way. For Sean Zerillo, Grant Neiffer, and Anthony Dabbundo, I'm Mike Calabrese. Thank you so much for listening, and we can catch you next time here at Payoff Pitch on Tuesday, covering the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. It'll be Sean, Colin Whitchurch, and myself, so be sure to check that out on your podcast feed. And as always, best of luck with all your bets. Thanks.